All right, let's cut to the chase. Why should I cast my vote for you?
That's easy. There are a few reasons. One is just in general, never been a Democrat elected judge in the Court of Common Pleas before, ever. So I firmly believe that we will enhance the reputation of the courthouse for everyone. We come in peace. I come in peace, right? This is not a takeover. This is an effort to improve things. So we will enhance the reputation of the courthouse and make more people in Delaware County feel like that they're going to get a fair shake. That'll help with just general feeling. It'll help with dealing with criminal justice. It'll just keep more people moving in a more positive direction. Secondly, I have excellent credentials for this. I've been an arbitrator and a mediator more than 10 years. I have very sophisticated lawyers who call me specifically, not just from Philadelphia and this area in Delaware County, but also from around the country to ask me to serve as their arbitrator or their mediator. It's because they know I can do the job. I've been doing this for 36 years, so after a while, hopefully you get pretty good at it. And I feel I'm at the perfect age because I'm old enough to know what I'm talking about and young enough to keep on doing it for a long time.
You know, you touched on my next question. Delaware County has been dominated politically by the Republican Party. Democrats have an opportunity now to reverse that trend. If it occurs, do you anticipate a smooth transition of power or turmoil?
No turmoil. Smooth.
Smooth.
Smooth is
Smooth transition.
no question. Within the courthouse, let's say we're lucky enough to have all four Democrats win, or even if fewer than all four win. Hopefully, all four of us. And that's Nusrat Rashid, Stephanie Klein, Kelly Eckel, and me, all four of us. We stand shoulder to shoulder as slate mates, so we all want to get in there together. No question about it. There are four open spots. We intend to get all four. We are not going to go in there as revolutionaries. We're going to go in there knowing we have to learn how to do our job, but also looking for opportunities to work with the other judges, work with the DA's office, work with county council to come up with good solutions. I believe that we have more of a mandate to come in and look for those opportunities and to push for them. We're going to come in with courage that new ideas are worth considering. Just because we've always done it in DELCO for the last 100 years one way doesn't mean we have to keep on doing it that way. There are good ideas from the outside. But in general, no turmoil. I am sure that certainly for me, my view would be, and I don't think individual judges don't control very much in terms of who they're hiring. But certainly, if someone's doing a good job and has been doing a good job, they'll get the chance to keep on doing a good job. And from what I hear, that's what the other candidates, county council, want to do as well. And it's already happened with the Register of Wills, who's a Democrat, and the sheriff's office. There has been no turmoil. There has been no huge turnover. There has been good improvements, good reform, and a more positive way of thinking. I think it's going to be better for the employees themselves because they're going to be less bound and restricted, pushed down by some need to have a political view one way or the other. They'll just, excuse me?
We have enough of that already.
And they'll be entitled to just be whatever they want to be. If they want to be active Republicans, they can do that. If they want to be nobody, no political affiliation, they can do that too.
You know, speaking of parties, the President of the United States has shown disdain for many judges, but in particular those of color, and demonstrates very little respect for women. He has openly violated judicial rulings, while the party he leads has, in my estimation, been craven in their responsibilities to hold him accountable. If our laws do not apply or are being enforced on him, then why should they apply and be enforced on me?
Well, you've hit on a topic that's on everyone's mind. That is an attack from the top on the rule of law in this country. We are a country of laws, and we should have principles that guide us, not people who can muscle their way with unilateral power. That's one reason that there is so much enthusiasm for the Democrats locally to be elected, especially for judge, because people recognize that even at the county level, there is a need to have independent judges, people who are not beholden to political insiders, political party. That's not, going back to what I said earlier, that's not how the Democratic candidates were selected. We answer to the people, and we would be independent. As I said, I'm 63. I'm going to be, I have a 10-year term if I win. I can be as independent as I want to be. I don't need to worry about anything.
The next election, that's not a
It's,
consideration.
I would be 73 years old, and then it's only a retention. Did you do a good job or not? So I can be as independent as I feel I need to be, which is going to be independent. I've never had a problem being independent, in case you might have picked up on that. So we need that in this country, because we need to reinforce at every level how important it is to have the rule of law. We cannot be in a situation, you cannot take democracy for granted. And other countries have started as democracies and turned into dictatorships. We can't have that. And one way to nip that in the bud is to elect judges who are truly independent. And in this case, it's the Democrats.
Rick, you touched on this in one of your earlier comments, but mass incarceration and unfair sentencing has adversely impacted Black and brown communities. How do you personally feel about sentencing reform and its impact on communities of color?
Well, I think there they did make some improvements, if I have my facts right, in order to address disparities in sentencing between various types of drugs, some of which would impact minority communities more with longer sentences for the same type activities. But let me just take a step back without really commenting any more on that, because I don't know enough about it to say. Mass incarceration is an issue that's been important to me through my work as at Graterford Prison. Let me back up and explain how I got there. I became mayor of Swarthmore in 2010. The day after I became mayor, I joined Mayors Against Illegal Guns, Bloomberg's group. I became very active with that group. I did a lot of speaking, including in Chester with then Chester Mayor John Linder, who's now co-chair of the DELCO, United for Sensible Gun Control. And through all that, I was asked to come speak at Graterford Prison. So I did that. I met with the lifers, meaning men, it was all men, who have life sentences. I was so impressed with their zest for life, how with so much going against them, many of them in their whole lives, how they were able to make so much of themselves over the years and redeem themselves in the best sense of the term, that I wanted to teach. I wanted to spend more time with them. So I asked if I could teach a course, which I did for about a year and a half. Once a week, I drove up there. It was about an hour and 15 minutes each way. And I taught a course in the American Constitution using a book from a Yale law professor with detailed footnotes. And guess what? These guys stuck with me every step of the way. It was impressive. And then after that, they asked me to be their liaison in their effort to change the law regarding parole. Right now in Pennsylvania, a lifer has no chance of parole, ever. But many states do. So the idea here would be to give deserving lifers the chance for parole That is the chance to go in front of the parole board and plead their case. If they can show that they've been in long enough, that they have redeemed themselves, that they deserve a second chance, then they could be considered to be let go. Through that entire process, and I've been doing that for the last couple of years and helped get that on the radar screen for some state representatives and senators, including Senator Street, who introduced a bill in the Pennsylvania Senate to do just that for parole eligibility. So I had an active role in that. Through that, of course, I got to see up close and personal what mass incarceration looks like and the disparate impact on minority communities. Obviously, it's something that we have to keep in mind. You have to treat every person individually, every defendant who comes in front of you. You can't legislate, so you have to treat everyone fairly, and there are obviously various values and interests you have to keep in mind. When I was mayor of Swarthmore, the police reported to me, so you have to keep their views in mind. You have to keep in mind the views of the victims. When I was doing my work up at Graterford, I invited victims advocates in from the state and from Philadelphia, one of whom was Movita Johnson, who's now the state rep, and we had a very good discussion, first one in a very long time, involving the victims advocates on the one hand and the men on the other, many of whom, by the way, their families are also victims. They have perpetrators in the family and victims in the same family, or if not family, at least community. These are all very intertwined and very complicated. There's no easy solutions. But we have to be mindful of the impact. And one way in which judges can exercise their discretion is on the tail of parole, of supervision at the end, Meek Mills being an example. How long someone's going to be under supervision or probation, parole. So that is an area that still can be improved upon, as well as how we handle bail.
Speaking of bail, that industry generates $2 billion a year and impacts disadvantaged individuals. What is your position on eliminating cash bond or bails for certain crimes?
I can't answer it specifically because I don't know enough about it. I can tell you this, that a number of places have eliminated cash bail, and there is empirical data to show that it makes sense. By keeping people in jail before they're even convicted of a crime, if it goes more than just a matter of days, their job is impacted, their families are impacted, their ability to stay married is impacted, their ability to be a parent is impacted. So we have to be very careful about keeping people in when there's not a good reason. Obviously, if somebody's a danger, obviously, if somebody's a flight risk, those are huge factors to keep somebody in. But for a nonviolent offense where there are reasons where it's simply a matter that the person can't come up with the money, where you would let out someone who has more money, that's something we should take a look at. Lots of places have dealt with this, and not just liberal places like New York and Washington, D.C. and Chicago, but conservative places like Kentucky has been doing it for years. So we need, especially if there are conservative places, implementing reforms, we should be looking at those issues and saying, why are they doing that, and what can we do to emulate them if, in fact, they are coming up with good results. And my understanding is that in many cases where you are only eliminating cash bail in prescribed circumstances, that it's been effective and it has not led to more violence or people not showing up for court.
Rick, how can voters reach you to hear more about your platform for judge and or volunteer for your campaign?
My website is ricklowe4delco.com. My email is ricklowe4delco@gmail. That's with a 4. Rick Lowe, RICKLOWE, the number 4, Delco, DELCO, @gmail. But perhaps the best way to get in touch if you want to help out is to get in touch with your local Democratic committee and or the Democratic Committee of Delaware County. We have a campaign group with a staff that is leading a tremendous grassroots effort with canvassing. We've been doing it all summer. I've been out there many times a week all summer, and we are talking to the people from around the county one by one. We are not going to give up. We're not going to be outworked, and we're going to win this.
Rick, in closing, and it sounded like you just did it, but did you have any final thoughts or comments for our audience?
Well, first of all, thank you for the opportunity to speak with you, and thank you for the opportunity to be here. We have a chance to make history, to get people in there who are truly going to give the people in Delaware County a feeling that they're going to get a fair shake. And if we don't take advantage of this opportunity now, we might not get another chance for a very long time. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for sitting down with me, the candidate.
Thank you.
All right. Good.